We've heard today a lot of discussion about Halloween plans. We talked a little bit about this on Friday as well with Dr. Joyce Locke from Southwestern Public Health. And those hotspot areas of the province, people who live there have been told you really should not be trick or treating this year. Don't do it because the risk of COVID-19 is very high in those communities. We're seeing high numbers of new cases each day, so it's best not to take the risk. As for locally, we're being told to kind of watch the numbers over the next little while. And if you are going to go out trick-or-treating with the little ones, there are some things to keep in mind if you're going to do it safely. Officials have been pretty clear that, you should stay within your own neighborhood. Don't go with people outside of your household, all that stuff. And there are some other things that we should keep in mind if we are going to have a safe Halloween, because that should be the goal each and every year, but especially this year with the added complication of COVID-19. And to talk a little bit more about how we can all do that safely, I have a guest on the line with me right now, someone who's been on the program previously, and I'm very happy to welcome her back. It's Jasmine Daya, lawyer and the managing principal of Jasmine Daya and Company. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it, Jasmine.
Oh, it's always my pleasure. Great chatting with you, Jess.
Thanks so much. And a topic like this, everybody seems to be very much concerned with what's going to happen in a couple of weeks' time. We're just under 2 weeks away, and you have some really fantastic points that people should be aware of if they are going to head out.
So we are unfortunately still in a pandemic, and Halloween is the first time we're having Halloween in the pandemic. And it's definitely a difficult day. I think it was difficult if you watched Premier Ford today address everyone at his daily press conference at 1:00. He even looked genuinely very down today with the news he had to convey, which is that the hotspots will not be having Halloween. And as you indicated, we all need to sort of keep an eye on the news because right now those hotspots are Toronto, Peel, Ottawa, and York region. However, time will tell if that expands to other areas within the province. So generally with Halloween safety, we want to ensure that our kids are taken care of. And that means that we want to ensure for trick-or-treaters, or if you are letting trick-or-treaters come to your home, that your driveway is safe, free of hazards, well lit. Make sure it's not slippery. You want to ensure that candy is individually wrapped. And you always want to check the candy before your children eat the candy. This year, if you are trick-or-treating and you are not in one of the hot spots, then you need to be extra vigilant this year. So Theresa Tam has given us advice, and the premiers in different provinces, as well as the mayors of local municipalities, have all weighed in on this, and it's important to heed their advice. So what they're saying is you want to ensure that if you are trick-or-treating, that you are only going out if you are not feeling ill and you are not showing any symptoms. That also holds true if you're giving out candy. If you're feeling ill, if you have any symptoms, don't give out any candy. You want to constantly be washing your hands, using hand sanitizers if you're out or about. You don't want to touch doorbells or railings. You want to distance yourself when you're yelling trick-or-treating. I think it was the premier in Alberta said you want to stay 2 meters away when you call out trick-or-treat. And Theresa Tam, actually, I always listen to what she has to say about masks in particular, because it's always interesting. But she has reminded us that Halloween costume masks are not the mask that we should be wearing for COVID-19 protection. So you want to wear your mask even if it's underneath a Halloween mask. And we just, as I said, we need to stay vigilant on the candy. She also provided a suggestion of if you're handing out candy, maybe you want to get creative and, use a hockey stick to extend the candy so that you're distancing yourself. But unfortunately, these are the times we're living in, and we just need to be safe.
Absolutely. And those are some fantastic tips that you've shared with us there. And I chuckled when they were initially talking about costumes and masking. And it might have been Dr. Tam who said, try to incorporate the mask into your costume. And I thought we're going to see an awful lot of doctors and nurses and frontline workers for Halloween this year.
Yes, that'll be something positive from this year. There's some other suggestions just to keep safe, and that is maybe this year, even if you're not in the hot spots, maybe consider doing something other than trick-or-treating. I know it's not great. I've got 3 kids, and my husband just had this conversation with me last week. He asked me, do you think we should take the kids trick-or-treating this year? Like, just knowing where the numbers are at. And before I could even give my response, he just weighed in and said, you know what, I don't think we're going trick-or-treating this year. So we already have come up with some great ideas for our kids. So what we'll be doing is watching some scary movies. We're going to be baking some cookies in Halloween shapes, and definitely loading up on the candy, store-bought, and eating that with our kids on the sofa under warm blankets. So that's our plan. But just another thing to consider. Other ideas.
Absolutely. And there's so much about that anecdote that you told there that makes me chuckle. I just love that your husband was like, never mind.
Yeah, it's usually the other way around. Usually it's me who's asking him something and saying, forget what he says, this is the way it's going to be. But, everyone feels really different and has different viewpoints about COVID. My husband has asthma, and he's a little older than me. And so, he's concerned. His parents are also much older and have health conditions. So understandably, he's a little bit more concerned. I am concerned too, but he weighs in a lot faster. Just on the legal aspect, let me just touch on that if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Briefly. First of all, I want to start by saying I am not advocating lawsuits, even though I am a lawyer. My job is really to explain to individuals what the law states, and then hope that you're informed and you make better decisions. So with COVID-19 and the Halloween situation, lawsuits can arise. And again, this has not been tested in court. This is a novel area. But if someone contracts COVID-19 because either you've hosted a Halloween party, and that's another topic, because as you know, you and I probably both know quite well, Halloween parties are just for kids. Adults go too. So, and in fact, one thing I did is every year while my husband was taking the kids out trick-or-treating, I was going to a girlfriend's house in the neighborhood, and we would have our little own party.
Nice.
And yeah, that was great, but not this year. This year, I'm telling you, we're doing the movie with my kids on the sofa. So I too am missing out. But in any event, getting back to lawsuits. So whether it's a Halloween party or trick-or-treating, if someone contracts COVID-19 and it's due to the negligence of the homeowner that's either hosting the Halloween party or that was giving out candy and either they knew they had COVID or they spread it, if it can be traced back to that individual, you can start a lawsuit, or a lawsuit could be commenced against that individual. And it's not just contraction of COVID-19, but we're talking about individuals that get really sick, maybe have to miss work. Oftentimes these individuals, people in personal injury matters, they don't necessarily want to start lawsuits. They need to out of necessity because they have bills to pay. They've become very ill or injured and therefore have to look for funds because they're injured or sick due to someone else's negligence. And it shouldn't come as a surprise because I'm telling individuals that if you start a lawsuit against a host during or for COVID-19 contraction that causes these issues, don't be surprised if the home insurer is not going to cover the claim, because there are exclusionary clauses in home insurance policies that don't cover viruses like this. And so the homeowner is personally on the hook, even if they have home insurance. So this is just another aspect that you want to be aware of. And again, I'm not advocating for lawsuits. I hate COVID. I can't wait till this pandemic is over. But I just want people to be informed.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things that people should keep in mind where sometimes people can get a little bit lackadaisical and they don't understand the far reaching consequences of their actions. They think, oh, it'll be fine. We'll just have Joe and Mary over for a couple of drinks. And next thing you know, you could have some unintended consequences there. And it could be quite costly, not only financially, but to your health. And that's why it's good to have conversations like this where we kind of open people's eyes a bit to the possibilities. Even if they are remote, you just want to make sure you're protecting everybody as much as you can.
Absolutely. And, the other thing is we're human. We have feelings. We don't want to feel like we did something. We caused someone, pain. We caused them to have all these issues unintentionally. But that will weigh on your conscience for a long time. So, it's better to take the safer route this year. Let's all be safe this Halloween.
Absolutely. Well, Jasmine, I can't thank you enough for coming on to chat with me about this. And I like your plan that your family has in place very much. Stay home, stay safe, and enjoy yourselves. Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thanks so much for having me. Enjoy your Halloween.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye. That's Jasmine Daya, personal injury lawyer and the managing principal of Jasmine Daya and Co., talking about safe Halloween in light of COVID. Some really important tips there and things to keep in mind. Absolutely.